behind. Me personally, I haven't really been in, everything out there. I've been in
Mm,
a lot of Centurion, Supremes, Nautiques, Malibus, Supras, Pavatis, a decent amount, but not
mhm.
everything. Never been in an Axis, really want to try it. I know you have
We could
one.
hook you up. We could hook you up there.
Know you have one. So just kind of tell me about, a little bit about your boat. What is it? What kind of boats do you like? What do you ride behind?
Yeah, yeah. I'll introduce myself. So I'm
Mhm.
Tristan. I started this Boat Daddy brand that the goal is to make it a brand, and I posted it earlier this week or last week, whatever day we're on now. Doing some testing. I've been like the last 6 months I've been testing like shirts, hats, flags, and just doing a lot of R&D. So 2025 we're gonna come out with a bunch of shit, and my end goal is just to build like a community. So like if you see me at the lake, like come say what's up, tie up with
Mhm.
me, let's have a good fucking time,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So I've been around boats my entire life,
Mhm.
and I grew up doing action sports. So like grew up racing motocross. My mom lived in a lake community, so I always like wakeboarding. We were on the lake and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
my goal growing up, like when we went on the lake, we were boarding. Like that's all we did. We didn't go out and party. My mom wasn't like the partier. She was like, "Hey, we're boarding. We're doing something." And so I grew up wakeboarding behind a 1972 Glastron,
Mhm.
and I always struggled to get up behind like just the regular tow hook. So my stepdad ended up getting a boom, like an air boom pole.
Mhm.
And I got a wild story about that too. That's something we can get into too.
Mhm.
So I grew up wakeboarding behind this thing. We bought this because I did a wakeboard school. I got up right behind like a wakeboard boat. It was like an older, like probably like an '05 Malibu with a tower and
Mhm.
everything. I popped right up behind the tower. So my mom's like, "Oh, let's get a boom." So they got a boom, put it in this old Glastron, and dude, for the age of that thing, it threw a nice wake. Like it like was nice and clean. It was crisp. And I remember like the day I went wake to wake on my wakeboard for the
Mhm.
first time. It was like a Wednesday afternoon, 5 o'clock, golden hour, like the sun setting. He just got off of construction, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go board?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And so my first wakeboard was actually Melissa Marquette used to live in this community called Canyon
Mhm.
Lake down in Southern California. And we were at like a yard sale or something. My mom picked up a Shane Bonifay board from her. So like I was like all stoked because I was watching like Sean Murray. I was just watching all these wakeboard videos and shit like that. So that was like my first wakeboard and kind of how I started around boats, and then
Mhm.
kind of ebbs and flows between racing dirt bikes, and then as you get older, you kind of get into like the real river scene, like kind of you have people that are partying, you're still boarding, you're kind of trying to figure out what you're doing.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I grew up going to like Lake Mead. I didn't go to Lake Powell, but until last summer, but growing up, I was in Lake Mead, I was in Parker.
Mhm.
Those are like our two main spots, and then our local lakes in Southern California. So like Lake Elsinore, Lake Paris, Canyon Lake.
Oh.
And that's kind of how I got into boating. And our friends had a couple speed boats and shit like that. And then I didn't really grow up wakeboarding behind like wakeboard boats. Like I always grew up behind like the Glastron. And during COVID, I bought a stand up and I bought my lady a sit down ski. And that's all we were doing. We were just going to the lake all the time, just cruising around. And I love stand ups because it's kind of like dirt bike on water, right? So we're
Mhm.
doing that, and we were going to the lake all the time just to get out of the house. And then I found a guy that wanted to buy them, and my wife's like, "Hey, we're not going the summer without something, so you better." And I was like, "Well, let's get a boat. We could bring our friends. It's not like a hassle trying to go doubles on the Sea-Doo and shit like that." And so my first boat was an '02 Supreme S220, so like the OG like
Yeah.
Supreme with the direct drive, and this thing was clean. Somehow I found it from some dude, and it was like it's like above LA, like some like beach town, but it had 51 hours on it. And I was like, we drive up there to go check it out, and I'm like, if I'm driving up there, I'm taking this thing home. And dude, this thing was pristine, like super clean. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know what happened to the stereo, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, whatever. I'll just kind of tweak on it. I'll pull some shit
Mhm.
apart, whatever." So I go buy this boat, and the only thing I know up to this point is wakeboarding. So I'm like, "This is the perfect boat for wakeboarding. It's got a tower. This thing will be super mint. We're good." So we started doing that, and then we ran that boat for a summer. We put 50 hours on it that summer. That was like our first summer with the boat, and I felt like we were at the lake every weekend,
Mhm.
wakeboarding and shit like that. And then my dad ended up right after I bought that, he bought a MB, a 2017 MB,
Mhm.
and so we got into wake surfing. That was my first time. I've always heard about wake surfing, and as a kid, I've tried wake skating. I wakeboarded behind a boat with a skimboard. Like we would do some just dumb shit. And so my dad, we go up behind his boat and we try to surf. And I remember the first, like, I was the first one to actually ride no rope behind his boat. And I was like, oh, dude, this is a game
This is
changer.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this is nice. And so, like, everybody in the boat's like freaking out because nobody's done it yet. We're all like struggling to do it. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is rad. And so then I was like, all right, like, how can I make my boat surf? So I bought ballast, wake shaper. I don't know. I was throwing everything at this thing and it make a wave. And I'd
Mm.
had people like leaning off the side of this thing. Like we were sacking this thing out. Oh, the rope rail was like on the water basically. And those boats back then sat like really low in the
It's
water.
super low, yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't imagine like these guys are wakeboarding, sacking them up too. So I'm like, holy shit. And so, yeah, we kept trying to make that work. And I even tried different boards and I couldn't get the push. That was the problem. I was like, well, I need a surf boat now. And so I
Mm.
ended up selling that a year later. Some dude, that was a weird situation too. The guy's like, oh yeah, I want to buy it. But like all my money's locked up in this one account. I can't pull it all out at once. Like, will you take payments? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't give a shit. So this dude, I was like kind of scared at first because he's like, oh, here's like a chunk. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get the rest like in a week. And I'm shopping for boats like this whole time. And I'm like, I need you to come give me that money so I can go get this boat because I found my boat, which my current boat's an Axis.
Mhm.
And so we sold that boat. Next boat we get is an Axis A22. After doing like all the research I did, I was searching for a hot minute. Like I felt like I was going to be the best bang for my buck, without totally breaking the bank or taking out like a second mortgage or some shit. So I found this boat in Vegas. It was at the old Boulder Boats, which is now like an RV/boat dealership. And I called the guy. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I was looking at and all the forums and Facebook pages are saying, hey, use SX credit if you're going to finance, blah, 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 blah. They have the best rates. And so I was like, all right, cool. And so I called him up, like, hey, man, if I drive up to Vegas, I'm not making two trips. Like, I'm going out there and we're getting this shit done. And so we drive out that we wake up at like 5 one day. It's either a Friday or Saturday. We jam out there, look at this boat. We test it in Lake Mead, like in the marina. I'm
Mm.
like, hey, can I surf behind it? And he's like, you're gonna get in the water right now. And this is in February. Also, I forgot to mention it's February in Nevada. And he's like, the water's cold as balls. And he's like, I was like, yeah, I brought my wetsuit. Like, we're cool. Like, let's do it. And so I jump in and I was kind of struggling because we were still working on setup and stuff. Like the guy was like, hey, like he just went the traditional, fill everything up and
Mhm.
set the cruise control. And obviously every boat needs a little bit of tweaking, right?
Yeah,
You gotta like learn it. I think every boat you should list a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe not all of them are a lot, but like every boat I think needs to be listed based on what I've learned over the years of surfing now.
Mhm.
So yeah, that we went there and then I kind of just jumped on Facebook forum and all that stuff to try to keep figuring out how to set up the boat. Eventually got the boat working. Eventually, I'm a bigger guy too. I'm like 6'3", 220 pounds.
Mhm.
So I need a board that's fast. It has a lot of push. I think at the time my board wasn't the greatest board for that. So yeah, so that's kind of how we ended up on the boat we have. Ours is a 15, Axis A22, and I felt like that was a good deal too because that thing only had 112 hours on it when I got it. And
Okay.
so it was like a family boat. The grandparents bought it. I guess the kids moved or they weren't into boating anymore. So they're like, yeah, they just traded it in. And then from there, it was like the bare bones. Like it had cruise, had surf gates, all that stuff. But it just had the 4 cabin speakers for the stereo, no tower speakers or anything like that.
Mhm.
Had the stock head unit, all that shit. And then from there, I kind of just built it up to my own. So I ended up doing like a full kicker system and figured out how to like run wires and do all that shit. And
Mhm.
I like tweaking on stuff like that. So like there was times I was sitting in the driveway because I didn't have a garage yet. I was sitting in the driveway running wires, trying to plug shit in. I fried a couple speakers doing it, like because I arced it and popped a couple tower speakers in the process. So that's kind of like my brief story. And then obviously we got stories over the years since I've had that
Yeah.
boat because we got that boat in COVID. So boat prices were a little funky. They were kind of elevated, and I was just shopping, shopping, shopping. And so, like, I talked to old Tommy's mechanic, and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "You probably got the better deal of that." Like, it was a win-win for like both of you guys got a good deal. Like, you didn't get screwed over, but they didn't make a shit ton of money on that boat either. So that's kind of like, I know at that time, like some boats were going for 300K, or used boats were like used I don't know, like G's we're going for like 250 and shit like that. And you're
Yeah.
like, bro, like this boat's like 3 years old and it has like 150 hours on it. What do you mean this is $250,000?
Mhm.
So that's what blows my
Yeah.
mind too is the boat market. So I'm curious
That's
how you got into it.
So my whole thing started on a 1997 Centurion Ski Falcon, direct drive
Nice.
351 Ford motor.
Sick.
Bought it from a family friend, and my uncle Chase and my uncle Jonathan were really into wakeboarding.
Okay.
My uncle Jonathan's wake to wake flips, crazy on this little 91 or 97 ski Centurion, and kind of from there, it just blew up, and our whole family just really loved it. There's this place on the Delta called Sugar Barge, and you can rent little pontoon boats and stuff like that. So we would rent the pontoon boat, and then we would have the ski boat, kind of as like a chase boat almost, with the family.
Hmm.
Everybody else was out wakeboarding and skiing, doing whatever. That boat today, I think, has probably 2,400 hours on it.
No way.
Factory motor. It's been to Shasta, who knows how many times.
I have a question on that. Since you've gotten so many, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this, how did you keep it? Like, how do you have that many hours? Like, what did you do? What was the recipe? Was it just routine oil changes? What was it?
It's basic maintenance,
Yeah.
impellers, oil changes, spark plugs, just taking care of it.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, all boats, that's really all you need to do. Just, take care of it, store it inside. You don't have to store it inside, but,
Definitely helps.
it
Yeah.
helps a lot. Don't beat on it. Don't do, crazy stuff. Just treat it like a normal boat and it'll take care of you. That boat, we sold it. I think we only sold it for 6,500 bucks. It was a nice boat, but super old and so many hours.
You got your worth out of it though, for sure.
Yeah,
With how many hours you guys put on that thing, you definitely got
yeah.
the
And
money out of it.
then from there, we were boatless for a while, kind of just got out of it. And then we bought a pontoon boat, actually, I think in 2018. It was a Bennington, I think a SX-23, I believe.
Nice.
Kind of was a family boat. We go to Shasta, Whiskey Town Lake, take it out on the Delta. Just putt around, beach it, just have fun. And then
Right.
that's when I was like, you know what, I want to get into, wakeboarding, wake surfing like that. We need a wake boat.
Yeah. You got the party barge. Now you need something
Yep.
to have fun on.
Yeah. So from there, we bought a 2007 Sanger V210.
Okay. Nice.
Gorgeous, gorgeous boat. It had
It's a
some
classic
problems.
too.
Yeah, it had some problems in the beginning. We bought the boat from this guy in Discovery Bay, which is our little kind of a water community, bunch of houses on the water, and he was like, "Oh yeah, boat runs great, no problems." We didn't test drive it. That was the big mistake. We didn't test drive it. That boat spent a year in the shop. Just
In and out of it, or was it consistently like
Oh,
dirty?
it was in and out for a year. We couldn't get it right. And then we got it right finally. We went to this place in Dixon called James Repair, kind of like an upholstery shop, and
Mhm.
dropped 15 G's on brand new interior, which is really, really high now that I think about it.
Yeah, that I've seen some stuff, but I think like now that would you could probably do a full boat like pretty sick for 15 if you want. But at
Yeah.
that time too, it's like man, you might want to just go take that 15 and throw it at a new boat. You know what I mean?
So we dropped that. I mean, they do really good work. The boat looked amazing, fantastic. I mean, I was blown out of the water. Then from there, it went to Wake Audio, and they did
Nice.
a full wet sounds system, four Rev 10s. Two, I think it had two eights in it, the Memphis Audio eights. Those little eights really hit. I
Nice.
mean, they were great, especially for being eights and being so small.
Hmm. Hmm.
One of them broke the dash. That's
Oh,
just how they I think we had 2,500 watts going to them, so they were really
they
they're
were working.
they were working good. So from
Nice.
there, it was really hard, having to manually fill the pumps and adding wake shapers and all that. And we still have the pontoon boat, so we have both boats at this time, and we kind of realized, hey, let's sell them. So we sold them, I believe July of 2023, and we went
Okay.
down to Joe in Discovery Bay. Really great boat dealer. Recommend them to anybody. We were originally looking at a Centurion. It was a FI or yeah FI 25. Really nice boat. Just wasn't I wasn't feeling it. And that's when you know Joe was like, "What about Supreme?" And I'm like, "I've never heard of them, never seen them, never been on one." So he
Hmm.
showed me a couple. I was like, yeah, yeah, they're all right, but I don't like them. So from there, he was like, well, let's go build one. So we went into the office, sat down with me for about an hour. We built the boat, fully customized it, and I from there I fell in love with Supreme. I mean, I love them. They're great boats. Really, really, really good bang for your buck. There's not many other boats out there with 5,000 pounds of ballast that you're getting for under 180 grand.
Yeah, out the
It's,
gate too, right?
yeah.
Like you don't. It's pretty plug and play from that. And I'll say too, my first boat was a Supreme. I definitely looked at Supremes when I was looking at this
Mhm.
boat, and then also they did the rebrand of the
Mhm.
S220, and the S240 came out, and I actually looked at one of those before I bought my Axis, and I was like, our local dealer, California Skier, which I grew up going to and like hanging out in the pro
Mhm.
shop as a kid, like with my parents would just drive by and like let me walk around and look at all the boards and shit like that,
Mhm.
and that I really wanted to go with a Supreme. Not like being like super brand loyal or something like that. Like my
Mhm.
first, I had the first Supreme, and the only problem I had is one day like the carb got a little gummed up. We were on the
Mhm.
dock for like 20 minutes. My buddy was like, crank it over, and we were spraying starter fluid in this old like carbureted motor. And we sat on the dock. I kid you not. With this thing in neutral, and people were looking at us, just trying to burn through some like bad gas or like I think I had like an additive, and it screwed something up. I don't know what happened, but
Mhm.
and he was just jamming on this thing, revving at like 4,000 RPM just on the dock. Whoa, trying to like unload it
Trying
and
to
get
get
the
it
thing
out.
all. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I've always been a fan of the Supreme stuff. I've always looked at
mhm.
them. I think the Zeus, the one you have the Zeus, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
252, the bigger
yeah,
one, which I mean,
yeah. That
it's
thing, that boat looked sick. The first time I saw
mhm.
yours on Instagram, which we should talk about that too, like how we
Mhm.
got connected.
Yeah,
But the first time I saw that, I'm like, that thing goes hard. Like the
yeah.
red interior, like it was just enough, right? Because like some
Mhm.
guys get like way over the top. I've seen some
Mhm.
boats that get like, I'm like, whoa, this is like too much shit going on. But then like you have the white because you got a little bit of silver too, like a gray flake or something like
Yeah, it was I don't know the exact color, but I think it was like a metallic silver. I like metal flake, but I don't like over the top.
that. Right,
So
right,
I just kind of did that base. I wouldn't say it's really a base, it's almost like a secondary base color.
yeah, yeah,
Silver metal flake, and then the rest of the boat was white. And then the interior was all red with white stitching. And this is where I
yes,
messed up. I went with white flooring. Um, that white flooring after a week was gray. And that's our bare feet. We don't wear, I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think anybody really wears shoes in their boat at all.
Yeah, you
That's
or
a
you're jumping on and off like the dock,
yeah.
whatever, and even your sandals. I noticed even if I wear sandals, like my feet like will be black at the end of the day.
So that was not too good, not too smart on my part, but it looked really cool.
Well, it's like the same thing with black boats. Like black boats look
Yeah,
sick, but I would do not want to own a black boat. I have
no,
minimal black on my boat, and I want to get rid of it because I'm like any boat I'm looking at, I'm like I'm not doing. I want zero black on my boat.
yes, our Sanger was black. The base color was black and it was red, and it was a nightmare. You saw every little scratch, ding, water spot. Those boats are so hard to keep clean, but they look so amazing. Like a blacked out boat, just amazing.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I just couldn't own one. I mean, it would hurt my heart just to see my boat dirty, and accidents happen on the water. You're gonna rub the dock no matter what, no matter who you
Right.
are, no matter how good of a driver you are, you're gonna hit stuff. It's
It
just
happens. It
it
happens. No matter what you do, it happens. Or
so
like when you're tying up with people, it's your homie. Like
mm,
I've had that happen too. Like I had my buddy's keys on our boat like this summer,
mm,
and he was like coming over to me, and he was trying to pivot, and I was trying to watch, and somebody else wasn't paying attention, and we kind of bumped rub rails, and I'm
mm,
like, I'm good if you're good, but like obviously just shit happens, like because there's so many moving pieces and stuff
yep,
going on, and yeah.
yep. And with a black boat, I don't know. I mean, I just couldn't. I originally wanted a black boat, but I thought about what the Sanger. I was like, do I want to go through that again? And I just didn't want to go through it again. So the Supreme got delivered August 29th of 2023, I believe. Same day as my dad's birthday, so that's
Oh,
how I
nice,
remember it.
nice.
Boat got delivered, and we took it out that day. Did a little bit of testing, showed us the wave. We couldn't get that boat's wave dialed in for the life of us. It probably took 6 months to get
Really?
the boat dialed in, just because it's such a big, heavy, buoyant boat. You need a
Mm-hmm.
lot of weight. So we ended up throwing some lead in it. A couple of our family friends, the Pattons, they helped us a lot. They really helped us dial in that boat, with leaning it and just getting it dialed. And when we got it dialed, it was massive.
It was a monster.
Never seen a wave like that ever. Um,
Well, I'm
but
disappointed that you got. Oh, maybe I'm spoiling it, but that you got rid of it, I guess.
yeah, I mean it's
But
I miss it, but there's always bigger things.
Mhm.
I've really been looking at Supra. That's
I've heard, I've heard that that is a wicked boat to surf behind. I haven't rode behind one yet. I know like mutual friends that have one. It just never like aligned. And
Mhm,
but I've heard like friends that have other nice boats as well. They're like Supra's like the shit. And
mhm.
I'm curious, what years are you looking at? Like new, or are you looking more recent?
So I originally was looking at a 2018, but in
Okay,
2019 they switched the dash to I believe it's like two 10-inch screens. They're huge. In 2018, it was kind of like, it reminded me of the Supreme. It's only about
yeah,
7 inches long.
right.
With me is I really like bigger screens on boats. Like I want to be able to see what I'm doing. I don't want to have to zoom in or do any of that.
Squint
I
your
just
eyes. You're like,
yeah,
can I see that right?
I want it to be there. So kind of that's why the surf system, I love it. The swell surf system they have, I've heard great things about it. I'm looking probably 2019 to 2023.
Got it.
um, I'm not a big fan of their new tower. I don't like that tower. It reminds me too much of the Centurion FI tower. It's kind of like it's almost like this. It's super weird, but that's why I kind of want to do a between 2019 and 2023. I think they started that tower in 24. Um,
Okay.
and I mean, they're great boats. The tower does have one thing that I really do like, the newer tower and the
Mhm.
automatic bimney. You push a button and the
Oh yeah.
bimney deploys.
I did see that. I remember sending it to somebody, but what instantly went through my mind, I'm like, just one more thing that can go wrong because it's
Hmm.
motorized and everything. So like right now, like yeah, it's a little bit of work for me to unfold my tower and shit, but at the
Hmm.
same time, if it's summer, right, and like that thing takes a shit, I know I'm not going to take it to the dealer that day because I'm already out at the lake. So and then I'm probably sure that the dealer is going to go through those bugs and try to figure it out. So
Hmm.
they might not be unless you're tight with the dealer. You're
Hmm.
probably not going to get in and out within a decent amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's like the only cab I remember seeing that. I was like, God, that's sick because I just don't want to deal with it. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a nightmare
Yeah. Uh-huh.
trying to deal with. So yeah, I
That's
mean, decisions, right? It's like,
Yeah, I think there's this 2019 SE. I think it's a 550 for sale
mm,
down in Texas. It was a pro wake tour boat.
oh, nice.
It's a really, really nice boat and it's really, really, really goodly priced. I think for that boat they're asking 120, I believe, which I mean is still high, especially for a boat that old, but
Well, what are the hours on it too? I'm curious.
they're like 54. So,
Really? For
because
a pro wake tour boat?
yeah, it was a pro wake tour about
And only
54
54
hours.
hours?
It
Jesus.
nothing. And I mean,
I thought it would have been way higher.
that's what I would have thought too, but I think it was only used for I think two competitions or something like that. I know they
No, that's
do,
not bad.
a bunch of
Well,
crazy stuff like that. Supras are all Supra Centurion and Antique seem to always be the boats that are being used for competitions. I
right.
noticed that, which is, you
Even
know,
back in the day, like the old school Super launch was the
mhm,
towboat for like X. I'm pretty sure X Games. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. I know that. I thought that, or they had a World Wake Edition. I forgot which one it is because I've seen it before when I was shopping around for boats. It's like an
yeah,
'07 or something like that
yeah,
before they
something
went
like
to
that.
the new body style. But
So I think Supra is going to be the way to go. I even looked at a 2022 SE at 550 also, and it's a wonderful, wonderful boat. I think they're asking 140 for it, which I
yeah,
mean, not bad. Good price, good boat. It's a big boat. It's 24 and a half feet, super deep.
I think that's like the sweet spot for a boat because I've ridden. We can kind of, I guess, if you want to dabble into like what we ridden, what we liked, what we didn't
Mhm,
like. I've ridden behind a lot of different boats, multiple accesses because I
mhm,
bought an access. One of my buddies is like, I love your boat. I want to buy your same exact boat.
mhm,
He ended up buying like 2 years newer, but it was the same exact body style and everything. I've ridden behind his axis. I've ridden behind multiple MBs, like a 14 MB, like a 24 foot
mhm,
14 MB, a 17 MB, and then recently this year I rode behind like a 20. It was either 22 or 23 Alpha,
mhm,
and I wasn't a fan of the Alphas looking at the body style at first.
mhm,
But after riding behind that boat, I was pretty impressed. I've ridden behind I've ridden behind the Axis T250 as well.
Mm,
And that's a big boat. But also like stock, I think if you threw some weight in it, it would get even better. But stock, it was pretty good. It has a really long wave, big wave. But I've also ridden behind a Centurion 20, or I think it's a 265. I don't remember if it's an RI or an FI.
mm,
But I was like all excited to ride behind this boat, and I was not impressed. I don't know
mm,
why. Like, and I think we were trying to mess with setup, and it just wasn't. I thought it was going to be this monster wave, and I was like, I've ridden behind waves that are just as good as this, and at a way cheaper price point. And
yeah.
I say this, I'm very like conservative,
Mm,
or I don't, I guess like frugal, right? Like I definitely like nice shit, but I will shop around. I will
mm,
shop and until I die, until before I pull the trigger. Like I want to be like 1,000% positive. Like yeah, we're good. We're going with this.
yeah.
So I rode a 15 Centurion, and I thought that wave was super sick. And I had friends
Mm,
get behind that, and they're like, "Oh, I wasn't super stoked on it." I'm like, "Dude, that I felt like that wave was amazing. Like I could ride super far back on it." And obviously, every day is different though, so you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. Because I've had my boat. I'm like, one day I feel
mm,
like my wave is huge, and then the next day it's dog shit.
yep.
Um,
Oh, yes.
the conditions, like, and it's super weird. Some guys will be like, "Oh, if you're in shallow water, it sucks. If you're in deep water, it's the best." Blah blah blah. We've gone to Parker, and I've been in like 20 feet deep of water surfing,
Mm,
and I felt like my wave was monstrous. And I was like, wait, it should be the opposite. I'm so confused. What's going on?
yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
I want to dabble back to you were talking about MB.
Hmm.
I almost built a F-22. MB were originally supposed to be, the simple boat, well priced. And when I went to go customize that F-22, I think it was 196 before sales price. And don't get me wrong, MBs are great boats. They some of them look good. I really like the Raptor,
Hmm.
the 24. They're super tall, super deep, but I can't justify spending, I think the new F-24 Raptors are close to $250,000. I just couldn't do it.
For that's supposed to be the budget friendly boat, right? And especially
Yeah,
they're local to you. They're up north.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
they're
that should be
here.
your local guy. Like that, they should like essentially just sponsor you. You know what I mean? Being that would be like the right that it would make sense. It'd be the right combo. But so I rode a 14, 24 foot. I think it was 14 or 15. So it was an older one. Had a surf gate, had some extra ballast we put in it, and it was good. Like it did everything fine, no big deal. But I wasn't blown away. It was cool. It did got the job done. I could surf behind it. My dad's 17. I it was after riding it now and being on other boats. I'm like, it was fair. Like it was fine. I could surf. You could surf behind it. I think we could have made the setup a little bit better. Um, but and I kind of wrote at that point. I rode those two and I wrote MB off. I was like, MB's not that great. And I received these videos of people pumping MB, like
Yeah, yeah.
MB blowhards. And I was like, nah. I'm like, dude, MBs aren't that great. Well, then my buddy's like, no, like our MB's like really good, really good. I'm like, all right, cool. And like, he's like, come out on like, and when he hit me up on like a Wednesday. He's like, hey, we're going to the lake. We'll be there in like an hour. Can you be there? I was like, cool. I'm on my way.
Mm.
Jump on his boat, and yeah, like it's an alpha. It's a 23 alpha. This thing was probably the biggest wave I've ever ridden. It was like super mind blown. And he had like a couple things of lead from what I could see. Like he had one in the walkway and like two in the corner that we were surfing on. This thing was huge and it had so much push. And I'm
Mm.
like, I got off this boat and I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I don't want to say I love it, but I love it. And actually, I've landed a 360 twice and it was behind his boat. I haven't done it on any other boat, wake surfing. And I did it on his boat and I got super far back. Like it was wild. Like for me, my struggle is if I get too far back, I'll start shooting out the
Mm.
back of the pocket really fast. So I don't know, Joe, it was Joe's boat. He's like 10, 15 minutes from me, and we go to the local lake all the time. And his boat is probably the best MB. And I rode another MB, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as his. So like Joe's got the like number one boat in my mind right now. I'm
I've
like, if I could
s-
take your boat, I would take it. I want that boat. I don't want another boat. I want that boat. If I'm gonna go buy any boat right now.
I've seen I believe it's a B-52, the big one. That
Yep.
boat is absolutely ginormous. It almost dwarfs the Supreme. Like It
Yeah.
is
The new 25, the
huge.
25 alpha or whatever.
The 25, yeah, and I mean
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
huge. I've seen a couple videos. I follow this guy on Instagram. Don't know his name off the top of my head. Down where kind of I think he's like PAL area.
yeah. Okay.
He's like a dealer. They had a B-52 and they threw, I think, 500 pounds of lead in it, and that was probably the biggest wave I've ever seen. But I mean, quarter of a million for an MB just doesn't sit right with me. It,
Right.
maybe if that boat was around, 200K ish, maybe, for the wave. I really like the wave. Yeah, 200K. That'd be good. But I mean, 250. I remember when MBs were 100 grand.
For
It's
like the top one too.
yeah, yeah.
You know what's crazy? So like before I got my first boat, right?
Mhm.
It was my first Supreme because it was COVID pricing. We paid like 20K for it, but it was super clean, zero like 50
Yeah.
hours on it, super clean, right? So like yeah, cool. After I bought that boat, I bought my next boat, and I was like, I told myself like, oh, I probably couldn't see myself spending like over 100 grand on a boat.
Hmm.
Now that I do it and use the absolute piss out of it, that's like literally I use it all year round. I was just on the lake last weekend or this weekend,
Hmm.
and I could totally see myself. I could totally justify it to myself now that I use the absolute shit out of the boat. Um, but at the same time, it does come to a point. Like I think all boats are a little overpriced.
Oh yeah, and I mean the whole thing with Malibu and Tommy's, how Malibu kind of screwed over the market. That's a whole
Well, actually,
nother.
was that on Malibu or who's that on? Sorry, my dog's getting a little excited about the
I
GPS.
think I think it was on Malibu. I think Malibu was over producing boats. I think
And
that
extending
was
it to them.
yeah, I think that was the whole start of it. And boom, a lawsuit happened, and that really jacked up the market. Because I mean, we'll use Pavati as example. Great boats, they look amazing. Pavatis used to be 300K. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money. And then a year later, they're 350K. A year later, they reach 400K. This year, I think they're at like 550,000
I saw a
for a
used one,
brand new
like a
one.
2017 or something like that, and in Havasu, I'm pretty sure it was. There's that red
Mhm.
and white and black one.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And that
yeah.
thing was still like listed. The dude wanted like 200 something for it. I'm like, you're out of your
Yeah.
mind. And then I think he dropped it sub two, I want to say now. I could be wrong. I haven't seen it in a while, so I think somebody
Mhm.
bought it. But I was like, this is like a 5-year-old boat now, and you have a
Yeah.
shit ton of hours on it. Like,
Yeah, and it was a 24 too, I believe. The AL
yeah,
24, I don't even think it was a 26.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I mean, 26s are great. Um, but with the bigger boats, not with just Pavati, say Centurion, the RI 265, the
Mhm.
Supreme, Axis's T250, the bigger boats are so much harder to make a good wave. And I think ideal length for a good surf boat is probably around the 22 to 23 foot mark. I think right there is the sweet spot. You don't have to throw too much weight in it. They're not too buoyant. I think it's perfect. Like a FI 23 or RI 230
Mhm.
Centurion. I think that 23-foot mark right there, like the T23, I think that's what it's called, Axis 20
Yeah.
version. Those boats right there, they throw. People think, oh, the bigger the boat, the bigger the wave. I I don't I have to disagree with that.
I used to kind of like understand. I used to get why people went there, and it's not that I was going there. I'm like, oh yeah, you would think. I mean, it
Hmm.
makes sense. More bigger boat, displaces more water, etc. But yeah, after riding the 265, I was like, the boat's just way too big.
Yeah.
Uh, I will say the T250 I rode behind last summer, like you said, out of the box was pretty good. If you threw a little bit of weight at it, I think it would be
Hmm.
really, really good.
Hmm.
And I don't think you need to go bigger than 25 feet though. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking like based on everything I've ridden to that point, I've ridden behind my buddy's G23 and
Mhm.
his is like an 18. And when I first rode behind that, it was like a totally different riding style for
Mhm.
me. And I don't know, well, it was super weird. So the first time I rode behind it was like last summer, and the wave felt very linear. So it like
Mhm.
came like very long ways and you had to ride off the wall a lot. But then
Mhm.
this summer, super weird, we go out again and it felt similar to mine. It made like more of like a bowl. And I'm
Mhm.
like, this makes zero sense. I feel like your whole boat changed. And we
Yeah.
didn't do anything crazy different. So after riding like my boat, all the other boats I've ridden, I was like
Mhm.
24. I think like the new Access 20, either the 23 and a half or the 24 and a half.
Mhm.
I think would be like a super solid pick, not because I'm an Axis guy and I have an Axis t-shirt on right now, but because like just like they made that half size. I
Mhm.
think I think that would be like the perfect spot.
Mhm.
for a surf boat if you want just like a very consistent rip and wave. But at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, one day my boat is, I'm like, holy shit. Like we were in Powell last year. I'm like, we had an atrocious amount of weight in my boat. We had 4 ice chests, 8 people. And granted, my Axis has the little Monsoon 350 in it.
Mhm.
So she was working. But the wave was absolutely huge.
Oh,
It was like I'm the biggest I've ever seen this thing, and I'm like, bro. And then you do the same thing at our local lake,
mhm,
and it's like almost like too much weight, or it's like getting washed out, or
mhm.
like maybe there's the current from the flow of the with the river that comes through our lake. It's just so weird on like how it'll change just day to day. You could ride the same exact spot with the same exact people, and like the wave will be different. And
Yeah,
I don't understand how it works.
I wish that, you could fit all the people you could into a 23-foot boat, or if the 23-foot boats could surf like the 25-foot boats, because I just really wish that. So on 4th of July, we had 20 people in the Supreme.
No way.
20 people. I think there was 16 adults and the four little kids, from the ages of probably 6 to 9.
Question on
So
that actually.
mhm.
What is your sticker on your boat, right? That says, "Oh, like, oh, how many people you can seat in there?" What does it say? I'm curious what your boat says it does.
17. It said
17. Okay.
17. So, we were a little over. I mean, we were
Well, I don't.
16,
You got to
16
send it.
before the
It's fine.
adults.
It's
But
fine.
so that was really nice. 4th of July. We didn't surf. We
Right.
just went to go, watch some fireworks. I think the most people we've had in it while surfing is 12.
Yeah.
12 people. We had another ice chest and the ice chest in the floor. That was a really amazing feature that I will forever love and need on every boat that I have next. And it was a really, really good wave. That was the day our family friends, the Pattons, they really helped us dial that wave, and we leaned it. I think we have 70 on the non-surf side and 100 on the surf side, and it just the lean was perfect, the pitch was perfect, the roll. Um, our surfer could actually, he has to bend down, squat. He could almost barrel in that wave. It was huge. And Taiga or Teague or Taiga, I don't know how to pronounce it,
Right.
but
Right.
I've heard some great, great things about them, and their barrels and their waves. But
I've heard the opposite.
really,
Yeah, I've heard they have no push. You have to throw a shit ton of wave at or weight at it. Hold
mhm.
on. Am I connected again?
Yep,
Sorry.
yep, you're good. Yeah.
Okay, my headphones like glitch. Yeah, no, I've heard the opposite. I haven't ridden behind a Taiga yet.
Mhm,
One of our mutual friends has an older Tiger, like an oh 07, oh 08, kind of
mhm,
when that same body style transition started happening. You could definitely surf behind them, and I almost bought a Tiger before I bought my Axis. I was trying to get
mhm,
a deal going with a dealership out in Phoenix actually while I lived in California, and they just weren't calling me back. I'm like, bro, you've been sitting on this boat for 3 months. Make me a deal. And I'm like, I know you want to move it, but and then we were out on the lake the day I rode that 265. We pulled up, and my buddy I was sitting on the back of the boat with, he's like, yeah, I've ridden behind that boat like last weekend. He's like, it's not that good. And it was a modern Taiga. It was in like the last 3 years Taiga. It was like a brand new
okay.
Taiga, new body style. He's like, yeah, it just didn't have like the push. Like I couldn't stay in it. And so that's what's super weird. And I was just on the boat this weekend with a lady that has an RI 230, and she was
Mhm,
saying the same thing. She's like, yeah, Taiga's. I've never ridden a Taiga, and she's like consistent. She's like, I love my Centurion. I'm definitely a Centurion girl,
mhm,
and that's my go-to boat. But she's like, my probably second choice is probably a Malibu Axis with the surf gates.
mhm,
Um, I feel like now that I go so much and do the reps, I feel like my boat is very easy to get it to a decent, to get it to a fair point. Like I know I can be, depending on who's riding, I know I'm
mhm,
going to be at either 10.8 or I'm going to be at 11.2 for speed or somewhere in between that. I don't really have to go above or below that. And I know I'm going to be 100% on the surf side. I'm going to be like 50% on the non-surf side, depending on who's in
mhm,
my boat. And then I'll place people around. And if I have like a bigger guy in my boat, I'm like, yeah, you're sitting in that surf corner, whichever side we're on. And like now I got it to the point like that. But I've seen other people, I'm like, you're moving shit around, doing a bunch of shit, and it seems like it's a headache. So I will say my boat's the only thing I don't love about my boat is I don't have screens that tell me percentages.
mhm,
Mine's like pre-screen, and the problem I have with getting a new boat, which I'm kind of looking at one, but I don't know if it's going to work or not, all the new boats have screens, which I don't want to screen
Mm,
because I don't know if it was happening up by you, but I remember when I first bought my boat, I took it to get some maintenance done, and they were telling me about Malibu at the time. This was in 22.
okay.
Malibus were melting the screens in Havasu,
Oh, wow.
and the screens were like 4 grand, 5 grand to replace. And they were saying like, yeah, the problem is they go test these in Tennessee. Yeah, it's 100 degrees and 80% humidity, but it's not Havasu and 120 degrees,
Yeah.
and you're bumping your stereo all day, and your shit's just melting. So like that's why I've always been like, oh, dude, I love my boat because mine's like kind of dummy proof. It's analog switch still, so like it has the mild screen computer that just tells you your like
Mm,
dash and whatever, but that's it. But every boat I look at now, I'm like, well, every boat I get now, I'm gonna have to get a screen.
mm.
But I think,
One thing I do want to talk about is surf systems. I have a couple questions about the Malibu and Axis
yeah,
surf system. So I've heard if you put too much weight in the boat, that tab, it'll stick out, but water will go over it. I don't know if you've ever had that issue before. I've never seen it happen. Heard, but never seen it or anything like that.
yeah. So I'll tell you how I set up my boat,
Mm,
and you jump on any Facebook page, forum, whatever, and you have 300 different guys with the same exact boat
mm,
telling you 300 different setups.
yeah.
Maybe you'll have like five that are doing the same thing, but like everybody has a different thing. And I truly believe every boat is different. So what works for one boat might not work for the other boat. So my boat, like I said, is kind of more of the basic model. It does have a wedge on it, but it's a floating wedge. It's not the power wedge, so you can't adjust it. So basically, once it's down, it's down, and when it's up, it's up.
Mm,
When I go to surf, I'll do 100% in the front bag, 100% in the center tank, 100% on whichever side I'm surfing on, and then
mm,
50 to 75% depending on my crew on the non-surf side. And then I'll put my wedge down, which the wedge is equivalent to about 1,000 pounds of ballast. So I think it's like 1,000 to 1,300, because of like how it forces the weight.
mm,
But I've read that guys aren't using the wedge at all. They leave it up, and I'm like, for me, I don't. If I leave my wedge up, I have no push. Like it'll form the wave, it looks great, but I have no push. So like I have to have the wedge down. That's just me. And then depending on my crew, if I have a light crew, like if it's only 3 of us, I have an extra 650 bag that I pump with a tsunami pump that I throw in the middle of the floor.
okay.
My wave this weekend was really good, and I had four people in it. No, 5 people in my boat plus that bag. And then my wave was very consistent.
Mm,
So that's kind of like my go-to setup. And then obviously you have your surf gates on. I don't ever like those are always on. You click what side you're on.
mm,
Um, But what's weird that you say that though about the surf gate. Sorry,
mm,
long-winded answer to the question. People say you only want the surf gate halfway in the water,
mm.
right? I've seen that. I don't know if that's what you're getting to, but some people say you only want it halfway in the water. My shit's buried all the time because normally I'm like, we have a big crew. My shit's like in the water, and it just like opens up right like that, right? So it like opens, and like if I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the back not driving for some reason, or if I look over the side, like I'll see it. It's like running over and around that, like it's going all over the place. And then
Okay.
also, if you're surfing too, you could look over in that corner and you see like water's just getting like sprayed, obviously away from the boat. So I guess maybe I don't understand like what you're asking or what the problem other people are having with the surf
Mhm.
gate.
Yeah.
Mine experience is that I don't want to super submerge the surf gate to where it's
Mhm.
like impossible. I tried it, but like I said, I'm always 75% on the non-surf side. So I'm always
Yeah.
kind of listing it a little bit.
Mhm. Okay.
So that's like how I set up my surf gate. I have not ridden behind an actual Malibu,
Mhm.
which I know is the same technology, but a lot of the Malibus have power wedge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've ridden the T250 I rode behind had power wedge, but I don't know what setting we were on or anything like that. Yeah, so that's my go-to setup. And as far as those go, I mean, working on getting on, I know I just met somebody that has a Malibu and we're working on trying to do some stuff and film behind that. But
Okay.
uh, yeah, I mean, now that I have it, at first when I first got a surf gate, I was kind of like, shit, did I make the right decision?
Mhm.
Now I love it. I don't have any problems with it. It's awesome. I actually used to love the surf gate. I'd take a surf gate over tabs. Now they're like, it just depends on how you set up the boat. Like I said, every boat's different. It just totally depends on if you got the right crew, if you have the right setup. I think you can make any boat surfable, or you can always make a boat better until you get that point where you're like, cool, I'm at 98% of the time, I like the way this rides, then
Mhm.
you're like good to go. But if you're always like oh, the wave looks great today. The wave sucks today, and like it's super whitewashed. It's like
Mhm.
obviously you can speed up, you can slow down, you can move people around. It just it takes time, and I think a lot of people just want to they go buy these boats, unfortunately, and this also gives a bad name because I've seen a lot of memes lately, like oh wake boat owners they just go out and they just ruin everybody's day. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
so like I know you we can kind of talk to this about you because you said your uncle or your dad I forgot well, somebody has like a fast boat right like a speedboat
Yes, yes, yes.
so
Had, not
or
anymore.
had sorry had
Had.
so had a fast boat right
Yeah.
but like dude we're all at the lake we're all having a good time. I'm
Yeah.
not rolling around full ballast up
Mm,
just throwing wake because a I don't want to
mm.
burn that gas and I don't want to put that wear and tear on my motor.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so the fact that people are out there thinking this is like my biggest beef with everybody right now is that people think that I'm just rolling around being an asshole. Like don't get me
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
I'm an asshole, but I'm not like purposely trying to throw up waves for you. Like so like naturally those boats if you put any wave in it like if we're ice chest up on a holiday weekend our
It's gonna
boat
throw.
is gonna throw just like a natural wake because you got an extra 1,000 pounds of just people and beer and food in there. Like
Yep. Uh,
so,
um,
yeah, that
especially down here on the Delta, our
yeah,
waterways can get super narrow at some points. It's
hmm
it's like a corn maze. A huge corn maze is what I look at it as. There's always a different way to go. There's sometimes we surf this place called Victoria. It's probably only 100 feet wide, and you get other boats in there, and it really stirs up. But I mean, kind of just that. And I kind of get what you're saying, the big, or some of the other people are saying, the big waves, this and that. But what do you want us to do? Not use our boat that we paid for? I mean, I kind of
yeah.
look at
Like
it like that.
depending on who it is, right? Like you got the
Hmm.
guy with the centurion. Like I don't have a centurion,
Hmm.
but you got the guy with the centurion that's just as expensive as your eliminator, your Howard,
Yep.
your DCB, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Like nobody's better than anybody. Like we're all cool. Let's all be cool. Like, and I feel like people try to like kind of stir up the drama, or people think like, oh, I'm better than you because I got a fast boat. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, dude.
Yeah.
You got to Pirates Cove in 20 minutes. Yes, it took me an hour to get to Pirates Cove, but we still got to the same place and we're still drinking the same beer, so it doesn't really matter. Like,
And we were probably having a little bit more fun than you too while we were doing it because you can't beat the vibes on a wake boat. I mean, you
no,
can't
for
between the
sure.
surfing, the loud music,
You
all
can
the good
talk.
people.
Like,
Yeah, you can talk. We have a tradition kind of every time we come in on a late night, sun sets down, we do karaoke coming in through the no wake zone, and
yes,
it's something, we got the LED lights. The Supreme I had some LED lights in it that would flicker from the music change. So it was
that's
really
rad.
like karaoke. So we really do that. I mean, I love it. You just can't really beat the vibes, all the family, the people you meet, just the good times. I mean, yeah, going fast is fun, but what memories are you gonna make from going fast? No.
Yeah, I'm bored in 5 minutes. Like that's that like cool. Like we did 100 or we did 80 or whatever your boat
Mhm.
is. And don't get me wrong, I don't like going fast on water because like 60 on the water feels fast.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you feel like you're doing mock Jesus. So I can't imagine in a boat that's doing like 108, and I'm like, man, I'm good. Uh, yeah, I feel like you could bring more people depending on obviously the size of the boat, but you could bring
Mhm.
more people on average probably in a wake boat than you can in a speedboat, right? The speedboat,
Yep.
you're
8 people at
yeah,
max, and that's in
that's like
the
a bigger one.
yeah, that's
Most of the
the
time it's like six, I think, or maybe five to
it's
six, depending on the size, because they're all like normally you have like actual slotted seats. You might
hmm
have an open bow that's pretty fast. Like our friends have a Howard
hmm
and they have an open bow, and but like it's just you're not smashing people side by side in the open bow
hmm
doing 60 for that matter. Like you're probably not
yeah.
going to want to do that. So I mean, it's not, and I'm not here to chirp or talk shit about anybody either. It's just like,
Hmm.
hey, like, let's all be cool. Let's all be friends. We all have a
Yeah, yeah.
point. Like, you like it when I tie up with you because my tower speakers project the music farther. So,
Oh yeah.
like, if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need me, I need you. Like, we'll a link up. We'll call it a day, and like, we'll just have a let's have a rager. We'll do some beer bongs or whatever we're doing, and
Hmm.
let's just keep the vibes flowing. Like, that's what I think the lake's about. Dude. Like, I have so many different friends. Like, I have a buddy that has a Nordic. He's all about fast boats.
Hmm.
And then I have friends that are all about surfing. And I have
Yeah.
friends that just want to go sit on the boat and drink. So it's like I literally have everything in between. And I tell my friends, I'm like, hey, dude, three of your friends already have a wakeboard boat. Go get a party barge that we can all sit on and fuck
Yeah,
around on.
there you go.
Go get
That's
a go get a pontoon so that we can make you the like the base. So like, hey,
mhm.
somebody wants to board, send the wakeboat off and go board, and then we'll link back up.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of, party barges and parties, on the Delta, we have this place called Ski Beach. It's this, little small island, this guy named Kelly, he put a volleyball court on it, really, really
That's
cool
sick.
dude. We have fun, and there are some crazy, crazy tie-ups for, I think, Memorial Day. I believe I have a drone shot. There was probably 150 plus boats tied up around this
Jesus.
island. And it's amazing. There's this one boat, Wake Audio. They do kind of really all the stereo work for the big dogs in our area, Wake Audio and Chucktronics. So we probably have, I want to say, the Wake Audio boat itself has 15 Rev 12s, wet sounds.
Hmm.
It's insane. 215s, couple of their boats, and we'll all sync all the boats together on
That's
one phone. And I mean, when you
sick.
hear it, you hear it.
See, I like that. I'd rather do
It,
that and have it like I don't care what we're listening to, but I'd rather it all be the same than us like having a dick measuring contest across stereos. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm trying to fight with this guy across there, and then there's been boats I've walked up the guys that own a stereo shop, right? So they have all the
Mhm,
access to everything, and this guy's listening to an EDC Excision set, which don't get me wrong, I love when the time is right, but like he's blowing everybody out, and so I'm like,
mhm.
shit. Then once I got the A link with my buddy, I'm like, hey, we can compete now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also,
yeah.
I don't have $20,000 and 30. I know stereos just keep running up.
Mhm.
Did you guys? I remember seeing like a year or two ago that I want to say it was a Black Axis, and he had like
Yes,
18 Rev 12 Rev 10s on his tower or
yes.
something like that. It was an ungodly amount of Rev 10s.
So I think the boat you're talking about, it's black with peanut butter interior, I believe,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So that boat, the owner of Elusive Eyewear, really, really good glasses company. I love them. I rock them all the time. They're great. They're a Delta-based company.
Nice.
They're out on the Delta all the time. So that's his boat. I think he has like 12 or 10, I think it's 12 Rev 12s up there, and that boat screams. I mean, it sounds amazing. It's a, glasses company on the water. It's almost like a smaller version of heat waves, except, I think I would take Elusive over heat waves any day. I used to be a heat waves fanatic until I found Elusive,
All
and it
right, all right.
just
I
it's
know
really,
I've heard of them. I've heard of Elusive. I feel like they're continuing to blow up.
yeah, that boat is really grabbing them some attraction. And I mean, it's a really nice boat, so I can see why. They're out there doing it right.
Right.
So their shipping is super quick. I ordered a pair and it came super quick. I have a
Nice.
pair that I wear all the time, a pair of black ones. There's so many different styles, and I love it. Their boat's nice. They're good people. I
Nice.
can't beat it. I mean, they're one of the boats though that's always out there tied up, with all the bigger boats with the huge stereos. And I mean, we probably have 100 Rev 10s and 12s paired together at one time.
And they're still blowing you out.
Yeah, they're so I mean it's all fun, especially with the volleyball up there, people dancing, just having fun.
Just a good ass time.
Yeah, I mean I don't know if I would bring kids, but
I've seen some videos. I understand what you're saying.
I wouldn't say I would bring kids, but it's great.
There's
And
always a time, like if you go to Party Cove with kids, I mean, like you kind of ask for it, right, or whatever your spot
Mhm,
is, right? So it's like, or you just gotta go float and tie it by yourself. Like we've gone to Party Cove with people or with kids and stuff, but it's like we're not, I'm not next to the boat with the stripper pole or something like that. You know
mhm,
what I mean? Which I don't care if you have that. Rad, good for you. Like cool. Like I'm here for it. But same time, like if I have friends in the boat that have kids or whatnot, like hey, let's put us on the end of the tie up, or let's tie up with our buddies on the other side of the cove, just so like
mhm.
there's a time and place for that. It's not the weekend when you have 5 kids on your boat and stuff like that. And it's all that's the other thing. Just be respectful. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of people I think that give any industry, whether it's dirt bikes, it's the boating industry. Like you think of Havasu, people just think, oh, people are just out there partying doing stupid shit. And it's like,
Mhm,
yeah, don't get me wrong, there's that type out there,
mhm,
but like you just gotta do what's right. And there's more people with common sense. I would like to hope there's more people with common sense and be like decency. They'll be like, hey, next weekend's the adults weekend. We can go over there. This weekend we got the kids. Let's separate ourselves. And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, If you're all about throwing your kid in front of it, I mean, that's you.
Yeah.
That's your fault, not mine. That's why I don't
That's
have kids. So
yeah, but I mean, one subject that I really want to get to, that me
yeah,
and you talked about before is cleaning supplies, brands. That seems to be there's always I feel like an ongoing battle between these cleaning brands.
dude, there's so many. There's so many, and there's new ones popping up every day. So
Yes,
like, it's fun.
that's
I just saw a new one today. They had like 30 followers on Instagram. I was
another
like,
one.
how is there another one? Who's doing this? Yeah, I mean, we can. I don't know how crazy you want to get. If you want to be like, hey, I love these guys, I hate these guys, or if it's like, I'm never gonna be like. Actually, we were talking about this, but I think before we started recording. So if I repeat
Mhm.
myself, I apologize, but I don't think we did. But I'm the type of person. 98% of the time, I bought the product.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm a user of the product. I
Yep.
didn't. Anytime you see me posting something on our pages, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever, where you talk to me in person,
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you what I personally use and what I like.
Mhm.
So anybody who's like, oh, you got paid for that. Like, you obviously see people like, clearly they're getting paid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, who's running marketing ads like crazy right now is Boat Juice. They are paying everybody and their mom. I've seen
I've
so many
seen
boarders.
them.
They are paying so many people, which unpopular opinion, I don't like Boat Juice. I tried it.
I've
I tried it
this.
and I didn't like it. I didn't love it. It
Mhm.
wasn't for me. Um, I have tried Extreme.
Mhm.
I've talked to the owner personally. I've been like recording orders. Like, I only used to use Extreme because he was local to me. So like, I'm all about support your local guy
Mhm.
first and foremost. And obviously, if he makes a good product, if your local guy isn't making a good product, then I mean,
Mhm.
it is what it is. Tell him, give him feedback so he can improve his product, right?
Mhm.
And because that's obviously going to help the economy and the industry as a whole. So I've used Extreme, love Extreme products for both the interior stuff, the exterior stuff. All this stuff is mist, so it's conditioner mist, vinyl mist, boat mist.
Mhm.
And he has some good speed wax too. So make sure when you're just sitting in like in the slip and whatnot, and you just want to touch it up, that stuff's rad. Mike is a great guy. I did notice some are a little bit better than others in certain applications, like boat mist. Love it. Would use it till the day I die. I think it's a great product. I have found better stuff, I think, for the interior.
Mhm.
I do think I love also just for cleaning in general. I love Simple Green. It's very easy. You can get it everywhere.
Mhm.
So like, that's always an easy go-to for like just cleaning up like stains and stuff like that. But sometimes obviously you need something a little bit more abrasive or a little bit more aggressive. So I did meet so my day job in sales and stuff like that, and I met while calling on somebody, I met Naughty Shine.
Mhm.
And so I've tested their stuff. He's like, hey, try this interior stuff. Let me know what you think. And it's their grime stuff. And that's what I did that video on a couple weeks ago. And I shouted
Mhm.
them both out. I'm like, I'm not going to pigeonhole myself to one brand. Like, hey, like
Yeah, yeah.
Naughty Shine has a good like breakdown consistency. And you saw in the video, and I did it super quickly. So I could do an in-depth video. Like, I could spend
Mhm.
probably an hour talking about cleaner if I really wanted to. So, but yeah, like I said in the video, I thought his broke down the dirt that was in the vinyl a little bit better
Okay.
than other stuff that I've used. So his has probably got the spot right now for the interior cleaner as far as cleaning up that with the white vinyl, because you had some white vinyl. No, you had red. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure you've been on boats with white vinyl, and you see it. It's
Yeah.
like it turns like gray or tan, brown. You just see like the dirt in it.
Mhm.
I like to use like a bristle brush. I use it on my drill just because I don't want my elbow to fall off, if I'm scrubbing it.
Mhm.
And it's a little bit more efficient. It gets in there, and that seemed to break it down really good. And then lately, I've been using a lot of slick stuff
Mhm.
as well. And I mean, I hear this. Take this with a grain of salt, but I hear it's ceramic infused and stuff like that. I heard some people say the hot topic right now is ceramics a scam, ceramic waxing is a scam, and blah 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 blah. And then it's, oh, you really need this wax. So I know my dad used to have a detailing business when I was a kid, and he always said get carnauba wax soap for your boat, car, whatever you're using. So that's like the things I stick to: carnauba wax, boat like soap in general for whatever
Mhm.
you're washing. And then the slicks guys, though, they have a good product. It doesn't smell. I have nothing against hot sauce. Everybody used it forever. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the way it
Ooh.
smells. I think honestly, a hot sauce is just vinegar with water, watered down,
Yeah.
and he puts it in a water bottle, and that's what it is. Like, which great, good for you. You have like 80% of the market, I feel like, because
Yeah.
everybody uses hot sauce. So genius
Everybody.
marketing. You bottled it. Great job. I don't think it smells the best. The guys over at boat bling though, super cool, super nice. I've talked to them before. And most of these guys, you don't run across anybody that's like an asshole because obviously everybody's trying to sell their product, grow their product, etc. So everybody's super nice. Just find what suits best for you is my biggest opinion, right? Like if you have somebody local, great, or if you have somebody on Amazon, great. A lot of guys are getting on Amazon, and Amazon's convenient. I like hate how convenient Amazon is, to be honest. So if you can though, order directly from them because they make a little bit more money. It's not a ton, but they make a little bit more money. So
My thing with hot sauce is I've used hot sauce before and I can't do the smell.
yeah,
That's one thing. The smell just it almost hurts. Like once it's there for probably a couple hours and it doesn't go away. And
especially if
another
you do
thing,
interior, like it
yes,
like
yeah.
seeps into your seat. Excuse me.
Yeah, you smell it on the lake. I've definitely smelt it. And I've got it in cuts too before.
Oh yeah.
Getting hot sauce in a cut is probably one of the worst experiences ever. So that's when I began looking kind of for another company, and this company named Eye Candy reached out to me, and I was like, okay, let's try it out. They say it doesn't smell like vinegar. We'll see after my experience with hot sauce.
Right,
So
right.
got my shipment. My boat was disgusting. It was dirty. It needed to be cleaned. My floors are white, so I couldn't find anything to um, clean them.
Right,
And
right.
so I tried it. I'm like, okay, it works. Let me try a little bit more. So I did the whole boat with it, and it turned out amazing. They come in little bottles like this. This
Right,
one, I
right.
believe, is the floor clean.
Mhm.
Works great. For the outside, though, there is something else that I use. I use Chemical Guys. They're local
Oh,
to us.
okay. I
I
thought they were
believe
down in SoCal.
somewhere. I
I
don't.
know they're
They have a
California
yeah,
based.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They have a shop near us somewhere.
Okay, cool. Nice.
So I use Chemical Guys for the outside. That's kind of just what I use. And then I Candy does have this water spot thing, so I'll go on after I use the Chemical Guys and spray it on there. Water just flows right off of it.
Nice.
It's amazing. So really, Chemical Guys and Eye Candy is where I stand.
Nice.
I'm not. I would say, yeah, I'm a little biased just because, I kind of promote them and, do all
Yeah.
that.
Right, right.
But I haven't really tried anything else. I really want to try slicks. I've heard you talk about them. I'd be super down to try that out. But yeah.
He did just I know he sent me a package. I haven't gotten it yet, so I'm waiting to
Mhm.
get it. But he's supposed to send me some samples.
Mhm.
If he has sent me some, if he gives me some samples, I'll shoot you a sample bottle.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, their stuff smells good. I do actually the one that I think smells the best right now, or the one that I've smelt the best over the years is Extreme though. Extreme smells super good. It like got a good fresh smell to it. It's nothing crazy. Eye candy does not smell like vinegar at all. It definitely has like a cleaner smell. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some people are more sensitive to it. Like if you're a health nut, don't use any of it. Like just use vinegar and water. You know what I
Use
mean? Like
water. There you go.
yeah. But I remember going like some of our friends when we were going to like Lake Mead and stuff growing up, they had just had vinegar and water bottles. And I remember that like being in your hands all night after you wipe down the
Mhm.
boat and you're like, oh man, this sucks. So like that's why I'm always looking at boat sprays just to see kind of what does good, what smells good. If you can have both those combinations, great.
Yeah,
Uh,
perfect.
that's what really matters. Like nobody wants to use vinegar and water, even though it's the best situation, I guess. But yeah, I actually talked to the owner of Eye Candy before.
Mhm.
Dustin, I think his name, right?
Yes, Dustin. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Dustin.
So he was super cool, and we were talking about like business stuff. We weren't talking about eye candy specifically,
Mhm.
and so I definitely want to try their stuff. I just haven't ordered it, and like now
Mhm.
I have a like literally like a folding bin full of just different cleaners
Different
plus stuff in my
cleaners.
cabinet. So it's like I have stuff for like when I'm cleaning it at the garage, when I'm on the road, like if we go to Havasu, I just take this whole bin with me and stuff like that. So
There you
and
go.
then I get halfway through a bottle or three quarters of the way through a bottle and I get a new bottle and I was like, oh, that'll just go in the bin. I'll take this. Or if I go on somebody else's boat, I'm like, oh, I'll just grab like that half bottle, bring it with me. So I have something
Mhm.
to wipe their boat down and I could show them like, hey, have you tried this? Check it out. Let me know what you think.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So I think you would like Slicks.
Mhm.
It's like cool branding. They're good people,
Mhm.
ex-military guys.
Okay.
So they're based out of Texas. So all you Texas folks, whoever I don't know if anybody follows us that's in Texas, but
Mhm.
no, there's a couple actually. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they're all good old boys and super small world. I had another customer and they're like, "Oh, Jason over at so and so." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we like went to high school together." And so like super small world. Like one of my customers, they all went to high school and hung out. They're all military veterans. It's like kind of crazy how it worked out, but all really good people. Just they're all into boating, love boating, and they just like to have a good time.
One thing that I do want to touch back with is talk about surf systems. I just thought
Hmm.
about this. So in my boat, the deeper water thing, I can understand that. So the delta is very patchy, with
Hmm.
their depth. It can be 10 feet in one area, 20 feet another area, it can be 3 feet, 5 feet. You never know what you're gonna get.
Hmm.
It's very weird, which is yeah. So what we found out is I really do think that deeper water thing, because our system, it sets the tabs that go down. I think depending
Your
on
tabs go
where,
below the boat technically.
yeah, they're
Okay.
below.
Okay.
You really need deeper water. We were
Yeah. Yeah.
surfing in this really wide open channel, super deep, and we come around this corner and it probably jumps to 10 feet and the wave literally disappeared. Like it
Like
was
falls apart.
non-existent. And we were like,
Yeah.
what happened? What happened? What happened? And I noticed with the Malibu Axis type of system, I don't really see that much. And I've seen it. I mean, all boats are going to do it,
Right.
no
Right.
matter what, but I haven't really seen it as much. That's one thing I really do like better about the Malibu Axis surf system.
Yeah, because you're going on the surf gate, right? Which is
Mhm.
essentially the same thing as a suck gate in a
Mhm.
way. And so maybe that's why I don't notice it as much like when we're in Parker. Because
Mhm.
I know you've been to Havasu. Have you been to Parker?
I've never been to Parker, no.
Parker's a cool time because they have some floating bars and shit. So that's what's like really cool. Like you can go board in the morning, get some
Mhm.
like really good water, and then you can just go. There's a sandbar. There's like a couple different spots. You could down by the casino at the end of the river. You could go to Foxes, which is like my parents grew up going to Foxes, and
Mhm.
so like they party to Foxes, and then I go there. I'm like, dude, like I'm hanging out like where my parents
Yeah.
hang out. This is like sick. And they have multiple floating bars. You could go to the top, like go see the dam. There's a couple shallow spots. So that's like the biggest thing. If you haven't been there, be definitely careful.
Mhm.
There's a spot I drove through. It's like there's an island in the middle of the river, and the river's not super wide.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can obviously go a couple boats up and down, but
Mhm.
it gets narrow in spots, and there's an island, and I was like, oh, natural flow of traffic. I go to the right, which I had a
Mhm.
feeling I shouldn't have, and so I'm like jamming. Luckily, I'm on plane. We're doing, the wake boats only go 25, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So they're not cooking. And I don't like to rev out my boat. I stick around 4,000. I don't really like to go unless I'm on it for a second, I back off it. So I'm jamming, whatever. There's like a house on my right, the island's on my left. I'm like, brr, and I like watch the F go from like 15, 10, 5. I'm like, oh shit. And so I feel the boat literally vibrate. I didn't hit anything, but it like went down to like 3 feet. And I
Mhm.
felt like the whole boat like vibrate almost like it was skipping as it went through that first patch and then it like got through. But I think like my prop was like inches off the bottom. And yeah, it was like super sketchy. So, but it was just be careful, obviously there. But yeah, something
Mhm.
like that's like gnarly. I'll be the first to admit I have grounded a prop before. It wasn't super bad. It was super windy. We were at the ramp and I was trying to turn and I couldn't get out of it. And I can ground just if you want to know an axis, you will hit the ground at 2.5 feet on your hand.
Oh,
So
well,
just
there, there
FYI.
you go. I mean, it
I mean,
sucks
I'll
that,
admit it. Like, shit. We talked about shit. You're gonna hit
yeah,
shit. You're gonna hit the dock. You're gonna do something.
yeah.
Yeah, we were. Somebody's grabbing the truck. I'm trying to turn. The wind's pushing us into the shore, and I should have just like slammed reverse and just got out. But I was trying to get it to rotate, and it's like rotating. I'm like, come on, come on, come on, and like I watch it go from like 5, 3, 2.5 feet, and it goes thunk, thunk, thunk. The whole boat like hops. I'm like, son of a bitch. And this is like the second day there. We still have like a day and a half left. I was like, fuck. So I pull it out, and it barely like flicked the fins just a little bit.
Mhm.
I like scratched the prop. It was good enough to get me through like I still ran it the rest of the weekend. Like we ran a whole another day at least on it. But it wasn't fun. And they had to go get a prop remanned and then bought an extra prop and stuff like that. So I don't know if you have any sketchy stories like that, which we can also do another episode and stuff like that
Mhm.
and talk more. I actually want to do something for people, and I feel like we're very similar minded on kind of what we're
Yeah.
doing with our pages, but I would love to hear just stories from people, and we could talk about
Mhm,
them on this and kind of like what we would do, or like what would you do in the situation, etc.
mhm,
Like this is crazy, and maybe you just react to stories. So like if you know anybody that has a wild boat story, tell them to DM
mhm.
you or comment it, whatever.
Yeah,
Email me. I would love to read your story and kind of see like
yeah,
what we all do dumb shit. So I want to see what dumb shit you're doing, see if it's something I would do or if you're
yeah.
dumber than me. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, dude, you're crazy. Like, so
I've
yeah.
done some crazy stuff. I had to pull my boat in at the kayak ramp, which was different.
What?
So we were at Whiskey Town and the main ramp was closed. So and to the left of it, they have this kayak ramp that's probably 12 feet wide.
Like
So
perfect
perfect.
width.
So I see the trailer coming down. I'm looking at the water. The water's clear as glass. It's probably up to my thighs. It was so shallow and I'm scared. I'm like, is it gonna hit? Is it gonna hit? Thank God nothing hit. I did hit something though. I hit a log that day, which is
Oh,
super weird. Nothing happened. I've hit so many things underwater in that
mm,
Supreme. From rocks to logs to, those little underground like bush or underwater bush things. I've
yeah,
hit
yeah.
some stuff. I've hit beaches, some crazy stuff, and it's never bent or broken a prop. I don't
Nice.
know how. I've even,
Knock.
yeah, knock on wood. I've even hit the trailer, putting the props even, or I don't know if it was the rudder, the prop, but something hit the trailer
Like,
when I was putting the boat on, and the whole boat vibrated, everything vibrated. I'm like, oh, there goes a shaft, a prop.
right.
It's done. We pull the boat out. It's fine. I don't
You're
know.
like, okay, I guess.
I mean, as long as it's not broken and I don't have a $1,000 plus bill,
Right.
we're good.
Cool. We're running it. Let's drop it back in. Let's go.
Yeah, well, let's go. Got some ropes cut up in there before, which is my fault. The first day I had the um, boat sitting at the dock, I untie it, and instead of throwing it on the back of the boat, I don't know
Mm,
why, I just dropped it. So
okay.
it I just dropped it. So it went underneath the boat. I, put the boat in gear, and it just the boat's vibrating. I'm like, what is
You're like,
going on?
you're like,
And
sick.
yep, there's my rope. So in my boat, I have a blue rope and half of a red rope because the same thing happened to me on my Sanger, and they're tied together. So
Hey, efficiency. Keep it. Memories. Memories.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, nice big fancy boat, but still the old ropes. So
Did you
the
see
old,
that thing going around? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you
I
see that
don't know.
thing going around? It's like that little razor blade thing, or you
Yeah,
put on your like your drive shaft, right behind the prop or whatever. So it's
it'll
supposed to cut it.
cut the rope. I
Yeah,
did. I don't. I
I don't know how
don't.
it works,
Yeah, I
but
don't know how it would work on a surf boat because I know when they
it's a
were
cool concept.
demoing it, it was on I feel like a bigger yacht.
That
The
was okay.
prop, the prop was huge. It was probably, I don't even know, 30 inches, 20
Yeah,
inches. It was a huge prop. I don't know if they're going to design one for a surf boat. If they do, perfect. I'm going to buy one.
right,
Because, there's a bunch of fishing line, a bunch of stuff, ropes,
right.
left anchors. I would
Hmm.
love one, but I don't know. I haven't really.
I think that's a great idea.
Much
I mean,
on it.
yeah, that'd be super rad. I think. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, I want to hear stories. So I'm always down for stories. If you guys want to hear, I mean, there's definitely more stupid stories I've done. So,
Yeah.
and
Well,
other, you were talking about hitting the ground and stuff. I mean, all the stories that you see about
mhm,
people hitting the ground in PAL. And
mhm.
we were close on our PAL trip last year. We were close to it because we were like, there's like a cut. And like we came around this way, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go this way." And then somebody's like, "I don't know." And then like we started getting closer, and I started watching the depth drop, and I like backed off, so I was like not hauling ass. And
Mhm.
then like I got to like a point and they're like, yeah, flip it around. It looks like it's getting shallow up there. I'm like, all right, cool. Because leading into that, that was like that year that Malibu got stuck on that rock and
Yeah,
like
there
that.
was a Nautique, the all white Nautique that got
Yeah,
stuck.
that one
Yeah,
too.
yeah. There
And
was a Heavy D's from Diesel Dave's or
yeah, yeah.
Diesel Brothers. His Pavati sank. I
Hmm.
think the water levels were so low that it was just right there, kind of at the where all the bigger taller rocks and boulders would be. So
Right.
right
I
there was a
heard I heard Diesel Dave's his plug
brain
like
plug.
vibrated out or something like that. Or, like it didn't like clasp in or something.
Uh, That's what
I
they
don't
say.
know. I don't know. That's what I read too. So
I mean, it's never happened to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a gorgeous boat. That was a $400,000 boat, brand
yeah,
new boat. But I just don't understand how the drain plug came out. It's just,
yeah. I mean, maybe he's saying that it's insurance. I don't know.
I mean, he did turn
Yeah.
around and get another one. So there you go.
Obviously, well, they rescued it too, and like
Yeah.
Pavati did the R&D. I'm sure Pavati took care of them because they probably got so much exposure from that too. I wonder how many
Oh,
boats he sold them though. You know what I mean? Because Pavati's not an obtainable boat to most people.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, you have a specific clientele getting that.
Mhm.
I do have, like, I like Pavati. I like the concept of Pavatis,
Mhm.
and I think some colorways are very sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes I see some of them like they look so gaudy. I'm like it's like sometimes it's overkill. Like it's just a little bit overkill. And I kind of think hot take the new Paragon
Mhm.
kind of is trending in that direction. I think a lot of them are very sick, but then some of them with like the stitching and the pillows and shit like that. I'm like, all right, now this is getting out of hand. Like,
Yeah. Why do you need pillows on the boat? And those Paragon pillows, those pillows are 900 a set. 900 a set. And I just
why?
for two
Why?
pillows. That's
Why?
a $1,800 option for the front and the back, and I just don't see it. I mean, I never
How
thought
do they not blow out?
I I think they are weighted. I think they
I feel
have
like they have to be.
yeah, they there's no way they're not. Either that, the weight or Velcro,
You put them in
maybe.
the cubby. I guess
Mhm.
I don't know. Like,
But I never thought I would ever see another boat brand. Like, as Pavati, say Nautique and Pavati, I never thought I'd see another surf boat go over 500K ever.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I saw a Paragon on Boat Trade the other day listed for 503, and I'm just, there's no way. I
I
couldn't.
There's a couple people out there that list their boats. I'm like, you are high. Like one of this
Yeah.
guy locally that had bought this. He bought the same boat I had, used it for like a year and a half, and now he has it listed. And he has it listed for what he bought it for. I'm like, bro, you are not gonna get that. It's like
Mhm.
a 17 axis, and he's got it listed for 80K. And I'm like, dude, with where the market's at, I could see 70. Like you could, if you're closer to
Yeah, yeah.
70, depending on the hours, I can see that. But like, I don't see 80K. Like maybe, yeah, I think you might have bought it for 85 or something like that. But I'm like, it's not, the boat market's not there. If you would have posted that maybe a year ago, you could have got that. Like, but not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right now. The boat market, you actually, speaking of the boat market, going back to the Tommy's deal.
Mhm.
Um, so I think Tommy's was pulling some shady shit based on what I've read.
Yeah, yeah,
I have no,
100%.
yeah, they were for sure doing shady shit,
Thousand. Yeah.
not paying their bills
Mhm.
based on all the stuff I've read. At the same time, I think that's just kind of like I'm trying to think how to politically correctly. Well, not even. I don't care about politically correctness. I want to make it sound so that I don't sound stupid. But like, I don't necessarily blame Malibu per se for
Mhm.
the like, hey, they flooded the market. Because in theory, all those dealerships should have stayed open. The market should have continued to thrive, right? So I don't
Yeah, yeah,
necessarily. Maybe Malibu was overproducing, and they should have like toned back the reins. Because I mean, not everybody's buying boats all the time.
yeah, yeah.
But at the same token, like now's a good time. Like if you're trying to get into the boats, like
Right
the
now.
last like 4 to 6 months has been kind of the time, or maybe not 6 months, but the last 4 months has been like a solid time to get into it because you can pick up that. Dude, I saw a Tommy's boat that another dealer picked up and they had it for 70K, a brand new
Dumb,
23, and I was like, wait a
dumb
second,
cheap.
wait a second.
So we know someone that picked up a brand new 26 LSV down in Texas. They had that boat. I think they bought it for 189. Realistically, that boat is a $400,000 sticker price.
Yeah,
And I even thought about getting a Malibu for that reason. But and then you got these other Malibu dealers trying to compete, and I'm like, you can't compete. You're listing your boat for 300 grand when there's the same boat with a little bit more options for 150.
which I think it'll be a time, right? It'll be a time frame like once that inventory's gone, and I've already heard it's starting to correct itself,
Mhm.
but it definitely the last 4 months the boat market's been super soft.
Mhm.
So like I think it eventually will come back around, but I think it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the economy, it's a combination of the inflation, it's a
Yeah,
combination of
yeah,
the boat market being flooded. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, if you got the money, go
Go
for
for
it.
it.
If you don't have the money, obviously don't do that. Like I'm all about have fun. Get a friend that has a boat until you can get a boat. That's what I'd say. You know, um, going back to my original statement though, the boats are overpriced to begin with.
100%.
Like I think
100%.
so. You have your umbrellas of all the big brands, right? So you have Centurion, Malibu,
Nautique, Mastercraft, and they're
Tyga. That's all. Like
yeah,
who the hell is
yeah,
that other one? So you have those all those big brands, right? Those could be your $200,000 range,
yeah, yeah.
depending
Cool.
on what options. Like
Hmm.
I can see that, but everybody step down from that. Okay, your Supreme, your
Hmm.
Axis, ATX.
Hmm.
Does Natique have those like lower range?
Things I know Supra does. Moomba is for
Oh,
Supra.
I didn't know those. I didn't know those. That makes sense now. Okay, Moomba. So yeah, throw Moomba in there. Remind me to talk about Natique, what Natique could do. I just had an epiphany, but literally in the moment. But all those sub brands should be like $100,000 boats all day, if
They're,
not lower. Like you could go 70 to 125. Like get the
they're
most decked out Supreme for 125, cool, or get like the base model Supreme for 89.
that'd be perfect. There's only one boat company, a surf boat company I know right now that you can get a brand new surf boat for. There's two, a brand new surf boat for under 100 G's that's super
Mhm.
clean, and that's Heyday and Sanger.
I
Those,
was gonna say heyday, and I
yeah,
didn't want to. I figured we're gonna get a lot of hate comments on this,
yeah.
but I don't love. Actually, the H22 doesn't look bad.
Hmm. That
That
new
was
W.
definitely the WT. That was a little rough. I don't
Mhm.
know what happened to it, but whatever. You just got to start somewhere. The H22 came out pretty good.
Mhm.
I would be curious to ride behind one. I see a lot of good videos about it. A lot of people say a lot of good things. What I think they're owned by Bayliner though. I'm pretty sure they're owned by Bayliner.
Okay.
What Natique should do, this is what I was thinking, is Natique should go snatch up Heyday, do it up. But then the problem with that though is they're going to snatch them up, and then that boat's just going to become another $150,000 boat.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that's what we don't need in the market. We need more companies like Sanger. I mean,
Yeah, I thought about buying a Singer. I tell my friends to go buy a Singer.
yeah, I think their top of the line is that SL 230. I think
Mm-hmm.
I looked at triple axle trailer, full audio package, big 440 motor. I think is they're asking 120, and that's for their top of the line big
See,
dog.
that's
And
fair. I haven't ridden behind one. I've seen them out at our local lake. I've seen them from a
mhm,
distance. But I haven't actually ridden behind one. But I'd be curious. I'm like, they don't look bad. They look like
not
a
at all.
great bang for your buck. Like, I think that's not a bad deal based on the information we have right in front of us. Like now, if I
Yeah,
go surf behind one, I'll be like, hey, you're gonna have to throw 1,000 pounds of weight at it,
yeah.
but you can make
You
it
all,
work.
yeah, and you only
I
pay
don't know that's the
8,000.
truth. Yeah. And I think though, I think Heyday's already pricing themselves out of that budget market though, because like
Yeah,
when they
they're
first came
up.
on the scene, they were like 70 to 80, depending on what options you did.
Mhm.
And then I remember when the H22 came out, I think it was getting up there depending on how you outfitted it. It was getting up to 100 grand. It was like just shy of 100. It was in the 90s for sure. When I priced it, because I was like, oh, I wonder what one of these is running. Because I even considered like, okay, do I buy this 5, 6, 7 year old Axis,
Mhm.
or do I go just buy a brand new Heyday? And I started pricing out. I'm like, well, at least I know the Axis is gonna work.
Yeah, there you
And so
go.
that's where I ended up. That's why I ended up on an Axis, because it was more budget friendly, and it's already proven. It has all the technology, and you don't know what's going to happen. Kind of like UTV market right now. Like if you're in the side by sides, like Speed is taking a lot of heat right now because
Mhm.
they're so new, and
Yeah,
like they
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Their loans on them suck. Like people are paying like 11% interest on their loans because they can't get financed because they have no backing. Like they don't have any resale value, and it's like I'm curious trying to get approved for Heyday. I think because they're backed by Bayliner though, they'd probably be fine.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, 100%. Like I really, 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 if say somebody wanted to buy a boat, their budget's not big, I would point them straight to maybe not Heyday, but Sanger. Because I
So
mean,
yeah. Or
the
get a used like I'm all for getting like a if you got like a modern hull,
mhm.
like the bigger mat, what's it, mast? Is that what they call it inside?
Yeah, Matt, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you got like an '08 to 2012 Taiga, or
those are
like 20
huge.
2015 Taiga, that was like, yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna you could either plumb it and have ballast put in it, or you could fill it up with tsunamis. Dude, the tsunami pump is so fast though. I fill up a 650 bag in like 2 minutes. It's dumb fast. So I have a buddy that has like an '06 Taiga, a
Hmm.
24 BE.
Hmm.
He has drone shots of his, and his wave is long as hell. It's huge. It's like the old body style too. It's not like that new big one. He had it
Hmm.
plumbed and everything, and his wave throws a fat wave, or his boat throws a fat wave, and
Mm.
it's like sick. I'm like, shit, that's like the budget build right there. Like, so like you can make really any boat surf, like anything that's sitting out of the water a little bit. So like '06 or newer Taiga, you could probably get it to work, if you really
Mhm.
need to. I would say go to that next body style, the next gen that has a little
Mhm.
bit more mass to it. You could get an Axis. Who else? You can always get an X, like an older X Star or
Yeah.
X45.
The
Like,
Centurion, the SV44, I think too. Those are going for around 70-ish, and those are really nice boats too. They have the ram fill still,
mhm,
which is super quick, super easy to fill, and I mean 70 G's, 60 G's. So
yeah. I heard the Enzos are really good. I've never ridden behind an Enzo. I heard
yeah.
Centurion Enzos get down. The one I've ridden, I want to say my buddy's is an FX, a 15 FX44,
Mhm.
and he has Ramville. And that thing, that was like that wave was sick. Like that boat threw a huge wave. It was rad. You list it, you could have a shit ton of people on it, and it was great. And I was like, I'll go buy one of these tomorrow, like because I thought that thing was
Yeah.
so good. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, we've kind of, I think, covered a mass majority. I think it's the first good episode.
right, right.
I think
We might need
next
to chop it
episode,
up.
yeah, maybe a little bit, but the boat stories I think is what everyone wants to know and hear next. I mean, if you guys have stories, DM us, comment, just let us know.
For sure. Do that. Let us know what you want to talk about. Like I will talk
Mhm.
about boat shit all day long. So boat boards, if you want me to go in more detail on brands, you want us to do like a walkthrough, like
Mhm.
whatever. We can do so many different things. I could talk boats all day. We could talk
Yep.
spots. I know we're talking about doing a meetup or something like that. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
continue to talk about that. I would imagine it's probably the initial one would probably most likely be Havasu because you guys make it down
Mhm.
to Havasu. That would probably be easiest for both of us. So
Yeah.
I talked about at the beginning, we're gonna do merch, so I'd love to do like maybe a collab
Oh
project on
yeah,
that.
for
Would be
sure.
super sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely, I think a lot to come. I think it's gonna be. I'm excited because I'm very
Super.
passionate about like the lake scene, the boat scene. Like I said, I do it all year round.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a good crew of people to do it with. So, and there's just so many. You can make so many friends all over the place. And
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's my life. That my whole life is surrounded by boats now. Everywhere I look, boats. On my Christmas tree, boat ornaments. Boats are everywhere.
right, right.
Oh,
And one other trip I do want to do, and we need to make it happen, is PAL next year. I didn't go this
yes.
year. I'm kicking myself that I didn't.
Yes.
I think next year will be even better because I'm pretty sure the cut through is open now, so that'll make way better. If you have to launch and retrieve every day, that's what I did last year.
Mm,
If we could swing a houseboat, great. But the houseboats are
perfect. Hey,
ungodly expensive, so it just kind of depends on how it works out. So if we got a big enough crew,
yeah, yeah.
and I have some connections. I don't want to like speak too soon. I'll try to make some shit happen. But if we had a big enough crew and then we could go find a spot and just like that's what's cool about a houseboat. You go get in a cove. It's busy right now. Cool. We'll just chill and then wake up in the morning. Sick. Let's go board.
Mm.
Okay. Let's take a break. Let's eat. Let's go board again. The water's glass. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. Have you ever heard of Lake Shasta?
I've heard good things about Shasta.
So their houseboats are dumb cheap. Um,
Really?
dumb cheap. I think Brian, we looked at one at going in July. For their biggest, baddest double decker hot tub was 5 G's. For the one right below it, I think was three.
Really? How
So
long was that? Was that like a week or?
that was I think 4 days or
That's
five
still
days. That's
that's pretty
still a
solid.
good amount of time. I
Because if
mean,
you're on the water, then you're not doing anything. You're just like ready to
yeah.
go.
So I definitely will look into that in a different episode and check it all out. And yeah.
We talk about boat accessories too. I will talk about boat accessories and kind of stuff, little stuff I do all the time too. And yeah, man, I'm super excited. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for coming up with the idea. I definitely will.
Yeah.
I got to credit you to that because you're the one like, hey, let's do a YouTube page. So
Why not?
podcast, whatever we're calling this thing. Uh, sorry, my dogs have been barking and clawing at the door because
All good.
So if you got some bad audio, I apologize. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. Shoot us.
Yeah.
Let me know what you want to see. I'd
Yeah.
appreciate
Text
it.
it.
We're
Yeah.
definitely
Instagram. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Boat
awesome.
Daddy official for the Instagram for me. Delta Crew.
Delta
Delta
Crew
Crew
Black
Co.
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 Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Co.
So
Yeah, I forgot
we're
about that.
locked in. Links will be in the description below. We'll have all that good stuff down there, and links in the description of the YouTube. Just check us out, give us a follow, and boom.
Right on, guys.